It is thanks to data miners and commentary from developers after the game's launch that we know much of New Vegas's cut content. One notable aspect are the cut weapons. Let's talk about them. Quick note, this won't include debug guns like the Debug Mega Pistol, test cell guns like the Faderator, or weapons that are in the game but are only equipped and used by NPCs, like the poisoned weapons from Honest Hearts. Only weapons that were actually cut from the game. Without further ado, let's begin. This is every Fallout New Vegas cut weapon explained. Deathclaw Gauntlet. Our first cut weapon in Fallout New Vegas is the Deathclaw Gauntlet. Now, what I'm sure is common knowledge at this point is that Fallout New Vegas was not built entirely from the ground up. Rather, a handful of assets were reused from the previous Fallout iteration, Fallout 3. What this also results in is that within New Vegas's game files, one can find plenty of unused assets as well. The Deathclaw Gauntlet is one such asset. Taking on an appearance identical to Fallout 3's version, the Deathclaw Gauntlet is the hand and lower arm of a Deathclaw mounted onto a wrist grip, resulting in a makeshift unarmed weapon. It deals 20 damage per attack, attacks 1.6 times per second, giving it a damage per second of 32.6. Funnily enough, this also gives it similar damage to the Yaoguai Gauntlet. And while a unique variant of the Deathclaw Gauntlet did make its way into New Vegas through the Honest Hearts DLC, the base variant of the weapon can be found within New Vegas's game files, unused. Hence, cut content. On to the next. Double Barrel Shotgun. Another weapon found in Fallout 3, traces of the Double Barrel Shotgun from the Point Lookout DLC can be found within New Vegas's game files. For example, the weapon's model, firing sounds, animations, and other references are all within the files of the game. However, despite New Vegas having enough resources to implement the Double Barrel Shotgun, it was omitted from the final release of New Vegas. Gas Grenade. Our next weapon is the Gas Grenade, and let me just say that it's a bit of a weird one. The Gas Grenade is a non-lethal thrown weapon that produces a gas or smoke-like effect upon detonation. Now, what I mean by the Gas Grenade being a weird one is that it actually does appear in New Vegas, but exactly once. A thrown gas grenade is used during the NCR's ambush of the Legion and Van Graff's weapon deal during the Birds of a Feather side quest. Still, this more or less useless grenade can only be acquired through console commands, an indicator of its cut nature. GP Machine Gun. I mentioned in the intro that developer commentary after the game's release has allowed players to discover all sorts of cut content. The GP machine gun is one such example. After discovering an unused form list that refers to a weapon called the GP machine gun, a Tumblr user asked New Vegas game director Josh Sawyer about the weapon. They essentially asked if the GP machine gun was general purpose machine gun, or an old name for an LMG or some other sort of weapon. And Sawyer responded that the GP machine gun was going to be a .308 MG that was later decided to be unnecessary in the base game. So, the GP machine gun was a weapon that had enough legs underneath it to have at least one reference to it in the game files, but not enough to ever make it into the final release of the game. Heavy Riveter. A similarly obscure weapon is the Heavy Riveter. Just as the GP machine gun is only ever referenced in an unused form list, the Heavy Riveter is the same. Based on the name, I'd imagine that the Heavy Riveter would have been some sort of modified rivet gun. But as it cannot be found in the game or console commanded into it, I guess we will never know. Infiltrator. I was a bit torn on whether or not I wanted to include the Infiltrator, but here we are. First found in Fallout 3, the Infiltrator assault rifle can also be seen hanging on the walls of the hidden weapons room in Mick and Ralph's. Now, the only reason why I was debating on including this weapon or not is that the Infiltrator mounted on the wall of the shop is only a static mesh, not an actual weapon. If you were to get past the bars and try to interact with it, you would be unable to. What I'd imagine this means is that there was never any intention of implementing the Infiltrator into Fallout New Vegas. So sure, it could still count as a cut weapon, but I really doubt we would have gotten a New Vegas Infiltrator. Multi-Class Rifle. What the heck, Nort? Don't you know that the Multi-Class Rifle is already in New Vegas? It's not cut content. Aha, but there is a cut Multi-Class Rifle. While the Multi-Class Plasma Rifle in New Vegas features 3 barrels for firing the plasma rounds, did you know that there's an unused Multi-Class Rifle that only features 2 barrels? This is the cut Multi-Class Rifle. So technically there's a cut version of the Multi-Class Rifle, but yeah, it's not very notable. Nellis Artillery. This is a bit of a weird one, bear with me. The Nellis Artillery is an unused Fat Man that fires the unique Nellis artillery shells as ammo. It is the only weapon that uses this cut type of ammo. It has the same appearance and very similar stats to the normal Fat Man, indicating that it likely wasn't going to be the unique version of the Fat Man. So all we can do is speculate as to why it didn't make the final version of New Vegas. Nellis Munition Shell. Similar to the previous cut weapon, the Nellis munition shell is also a curiously unused weapon. Not much is known about it other than it shares the same model as the bottle cap mine. Unfortunately, there's not much else to this oddity. R9000 Camera. Okay, Nort, you really gotta stop including weapons that are already in New Vegas. These are not cut content. While nearly identical to the R9000 camera that is found in the classic Inspiration side quest, it does have one little change that proves it is a different version. The cut R9000 actually uses energy cells as ammo, as opposed to the unique camera film in the final version of the game. What this means is that the cut R9000 was likely an earlier version of the item, and just never ended up getting pruned from the game files. Rorschach Drawing. When you see this image, what do you see? The Rorschach Drawing is an unused unarmed weapon found in the game files of New Vegas. It uses the same model as one of Doc Mitchell's inkblots during the beginning of the game. But unlike the emotional damage Doc Mitch inflicts with his psychoanalysis, the weapon version of the drawing doesn't do anything. No damage, nothing. And just like the R9000 camera, I'd imagine that the Rorschach Drawing cut weapon was just an early version of Doc Mitchell's inkblots and was never removed from the game files. Slave's Burden. This is definitely one of the more unique cut weapons from New Vegas. Slave's Burden is a cut unarmed weapon found only in the game files of New Vegas. While you can't see it when equipped, if you drop it, the weapon looks like a backpack with some flamer fuel canisters attached to it. But because it doesn't really do anything and weighs 400 pounds, there's no real reason to ever put it in your game. Stun Baton. The Stun Baton is a cut weapon that was never intended to be used by the player, but rather their robotic companion, Eddie. Still, after obtaining it with console commands, we can use it, if only for a little bit before it randomly disappears. While the weapon shows nothing when equipped, it does deal damage, emitting an electrical spark when hitting inanimate objects, and a flame effect when hitting other creatures. Deals 12 damage per attack, attacks 2.3 times per second, giving it a damage per second of 27. This gives it similar damage to that of the Police Baton. It's not the worst. Stun Grenade. Just like Fallout 3, it would seem that New Vegas also has several cut grenades. The Stun Grenade is a non-lethal grenade that intends to knock opponents out, rather than outright killing them. While the Stun Grenade deals 15 hit point damage, the big draw is that it deals 100 fatigue damage. The Stun Grenade also has a unique explosion animation, visual effects, and can obscure the player's own vision and even blind them momentarily, similar to what you'd expect from a stun grenade. And while the grenade can only be obtained through console commands, it does appear in the achievement art for reaching level 30. On to our first DLC cut weapon. Starlet's Hand Wraps. The Starlet's Hand Wraps are a unique and cut version of the boxing tape found in the game files for the Dead Money DLC. Based on the name, I'd imagine that these once belonged to Vera Keys. They are significantly better than any other boxing weapon in the game, dealing 15 damage per attack, 1.3 attacks per second, putting its DPS at 18.9. It's worse than any other unarmed weapon, but better than boxing tape, gloves, or golden gloves. It also notably knocks down enemies quite frequently, and has a shock effect similar to the Tesla cannon. All in all, a pretty unique weapon that never managed to make it into the final version of Dead Money. Bug Spray. Another quite unique weapon is the Bug Spray. Cut from the Honest Hearts DLC, all that remains of it is an icon that was left in the DLC's files. Based on the image, I'd wager that the Bug Spray was to act as an improvised flamethrower, using a lighter to ignite the aerosolized mosquito repellent. Would have been quite funny to see the Fallout Challenge content creators make a video using this guy. Meat Mine. Another weird cut item is the Meat Mine. Found in the Old World Blues DLC files, it is an exact copy of the Frag Mine, but instead looks like preserved meat. An AI package titled NVDLC03 Gabe Meat Find Package makes Gabe, the giant robo-dog, approach any nearby meat mines. This has led many to believe that the mine's intended purpose was as a way to easily beat Gabe during the A Brain's Best Friend side quest. It's a pretty unique alternative way to complete the quest, but was cut for one reason or another. Scorpion and Spider Rifle. So these next two weapons have a bit of an interesting story to them. So in Lonesome Road, a unique pair of matching grenade rifles can be found. The Great Bear Grenade Rifle and the Red Victory Grenade Rifle. These are supposed to be rifles that were used by American and Chinese forces respectively during the Great War. However, before they were implemented as grenade rifles in the game, the textures and meshes for these weapons were going to be used for some pretty creepy weapons in the Old World Blues DLC instead. The Great Bear Rifle originally appeared in the Old World Blues DLC files as the Scorpion Rifle. It would have fired miniature blue robo-scorpions. Similarly, and more creepierly, the Red Victory Rifle originally appeared as the Spider Rifle. You can guess what it was meant to fire. Still, for one reason or another, these two critter-shooting guns were scrapped and repurposed as grenade rifles for the Lonesome Road DLC instead. Mega Robo Scorpion Claw. The Mega Robo Scorpion Claw is a unique melee weapon that was meant to appear in the Old World Blues DLC. Based on the name, it was likely meant to be looted off the X-42 Giant Robo Scorpion near the end of the DLC. Similar to the Stun Baton, the Mega Robo Scorpion Claw has no physical appearance, and oddly enough, while damage parameters are set within the game files, it deals no damage if equipped and swung at enemies. Just a bit bizarre. X13 Field Disruptor Pistol. And our final cut weapon for today is the X13 Field Disruptor Pistol. It takes on the appearance of the standard laser pistol and uses an MF breeder as ammo. The X13 Field Disruptor Pistol was suspected to be the weapon used to dispel the various force fields around the Big Empty. At some point in development, the Field Disruptor Pistol's unique function was moved into the Sonic Emitter, making the Disruptor Pistol obsolete, prompting its removal from the game. Bye-bye X13 Field Disruptor, you won't be missed. Anywho, that wraps up the cut weapons from New Vegas. New Vegas boasts the largest roster of weapons among all Fallout games, but even the handful of weapons we went over today were not able to make the final cut. Still, based on how few cut weapons we did go over today, you can imagine that the New Vegas game developers really were trying to put anything imaginable into the game. That's all from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to share and subscribe. Join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Right, got it. I'll just stop using this melee weapon and instead use a melee weapon. Good idea, boss.